The story starts at a massive grand auction, and I'm watching as a 1937 Bugatti sits on stage like a piece of history, the auctioneer calling it one of the rarest cars on earth and saying only 2 models even exist, which makes the whole room buzz with excitement as the bidding opens at $30 million and keeps climbing, 32, 34, higher and higher, until a guy named Jack calls his boss and drops a final bid of $41 million, winning the legendary Bugatti, and while everyone else is celebrating inside, my brother Garrett and I are already outside waiting, because we're professional car thieves and luxury and supercars are basically our life, and honestly, we've already stolen some of the best cars in the world, though at that moment I'm still mad at Garrett because his girlfriend ran off the night before after stealing one of our cars. But none of that matters now since we know Jack is moving the Bugatti by truck along this exact route and we're planning to take it. So the second I spot the truck, I know it's carrying the Bugatti and our plan kicks in, with Garrett driving his car straight toward the truck while I get ready to jump using a rope. And as the truck gets close, I leap onto it, almost miss the landing, and for a second I'm hanging there thinking I'm done, but I manage to grab on just in time as Garrett pulls up underneath me, drives close enough for me to drop onto his car. Then I climb back up and jump onto the truck again, and while Garrett blocks the road by swerving in front of the truck, Jack realizes what we're after and panics. The driver freaks out, and Jack puts a gun to the driver's head and orders him to ram Garrett's car, so the truck slams into him again and again, until Garrett decides enough is enough and spins his car sideways in front of the truck, forcing a hard crash that slows it down, and Jack starts firing wildly at us until he runs out of bullets, giving Garrett the chance to jump onto the truck, cut the brake wires, and rush to me, and together we force open the back, climb inside, and I slide straight into the Bugatti, trying to start it while Jack screams at the driver to stop the truck, not knowing the brakes are already dead, and as Jack jumps out trying to fix things himself, the truck completely loses control, flips over, and in that chaos, we finally get the Bugatti started and drive away with it, pulling off one of the craziest and cleanest car thefts of our lives. And afterward, we're celebrating like idiots because we just stole a $41 million car until my friend Stephanie shows up, slaps me hard, and yells about why I didn't take her along for the Bugatti job, and I promise her she'll be part of the next one, because the truth is, she's always been part of our crew. And that's when you really understand who we are. Garrett and I are brothers on our father's side. Stealing the world's most expensive cars isn't just what we do, it's who we are. But what we don't realize yet is that this Bugatti is about to drag us into something way bigger and way more dangerous than we ever imagined. The next day, I and Garrett went to a man named Jamie to sell the Bugatti, because Jamie was the one who had given us the job of stealing cars, but the moment he saw the car, he refused to take it since he knew this Bugatti didn't belong to some normal guy, but to a very powerful criminal, and even though Garrett tried to convince him that we delivered the car on time and deserved our money, Jamie suddenly signaled his men, and they grabbed us, and a brutal fight broke out. But Jamie had too many guys, so they beat us until we passed out, because Jamie had already decided to return the car to its real owner since he didn't want any trouble with him. And right then, Jack also showed up while searching for the Bugatti, which scared Jamie so badly that he immediately said he didn't know whose car it was and told Jack to take it away. And when Garrett and I finally woke up, we saw the real owner of the Buga. While we were tied to chairs on a high platform, and Jamie was the one who had brought us there, and 𝗏𝗵𝗿𝗲, a powerful businessman, told us his life story about being born poor, starting from zero, building his empire through crime, and now living as a successful businessman. But he was furious and said stealing his car was the biggest mistake of our lives. And to prove his point, he killed Jamie in front of us because Jamie was the one who kept giving us jobs. Then 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗲 said he wanted to show us something and took us to a massive garage filled with the rarest and most legendary cars in the world. Cars so expensive that Garrett and I couldn't stop staring. And 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗲 explained that collecting rare cars was his obsession, and he loved them more than his own life. And just as he reloaded his gun to kill us, Garrett stayed calm and pitched a new plan, promising we could steal an even more expensive Ferrari and give it to him. And that's when I told 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗲𝗏 about a man named Max, who had been rich since childhood, joined university at 15, completed his MBA years ahead of everyone else, and later took over his family business with unmatched intelligence. And when Max turned 30, his father handed him the entire empire along with a special gift, a Ferrari 1962, the only model in the world, worth over millions of dollars today. And I told 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗏𝗏 our plan was to steal that Ferrari from Max, who also happened to be 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's enemy, and the reason he had lost millions. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 liked the idea, but said stealing that car was nearly impossible, though Garrett convinced him to give us just one chance, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 agreed, giving us 1 week and warning that if we failed, we'd be killed, after which his men threw us into the water and left. And while Garrett panicked about pulling off such a massive heist in 7 days, I told him this had to be our final job or 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 would kill us, because I planned to marry Stephanie and leave this life behind. though Garrett argued that stealing was the only way we survived. And when we got home, Stephanie was angry because she'd waited for me all day. But Garrett told her everything about 𝗦𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗲, and instead of backing out, she decided to join the plan, saying she knew someone in the city who could help us build a real team, a skilled pickpocket named Devin, famous for using her beauty and sharp mind to clean out wallets so smoothly that even the cops couldn't catch her. And since Stephanie and Devin had worked together before, Devin quickly agreed to join, and because the plan was huge and dangerous, we knew we also needed an explosives expert. So we went to meet a man who could blow up an entire house in seconds. His name was Lan, and the moment I met him, I could tell he was on another level, calm, sharp, and deadly precise. An expert who could blow up an entire house in seconds if needed, and without much talk, he agreed to join our team, after which we tracked down 4 professional race drivers, real speed demons who lived for the thrill, tested them ourselves, and once we saw their insane control and instincts behind the wheel, all 4 became part of the crew, and then all of us sat together to plan the heist in detail while Garrett explained everyone's role clearly, making it obvious that even one small mistake from anyone could destroy the whole plan. And later, when I, 𝗟𝗏𝗀𝗲, returned to our apartment, an unfamiliar man was already waiting inside, so I instantly grabbed my baseball bat and demanded to know who he was, and he calmly introduced himself as Laurent, saying he was 𝗦𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗲's cousin, sent by 𝗦𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗲 to join the plan and secretly keep an eye on us, though he also claimed he was here to help because he knew someone deep inside Max's inner circle, a man named 𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗀𝗲 who handled all of Max's illegal business. And if 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗲 helped us, we could find the exact location of Max's secret garage, so the whole team went with Laurent to meet 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗲. But 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 refused right away because he didn't trust 𝗦𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 and confidently told himself that Garrett and I were the best drivers alive and could steal any car on Earth, which finally convinced 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 single bottle placed in the center, and when he did it perfectly, everyone was stunned. But then Cohen gave us a crazy final test, stopping a moving airplane with a car just before takeoff. And even though I tried to shut it down, Cohen made it clear that if we failed, we should forget about Max completely. So I warned Garrett over the radio, and we went full speed toward the airport. Cops chased us because cars weren't allowed inside, but with our insane driving, we crashed their vehicles one by one and hit the runway at full throttle, where Garrett pulled his car straight in front of the plane, opened the roof, and just as the pilot pushed for takeoff, Garrett slammed into the engine, causing a massive explosion that destroyed it and forced the plane to stop. And when the smoke cleared, we had passed, leaving Cohen completely shocked and finally convinced we were professionals. Then he revealed that the plane and the entire airport belonged to one son, Max, and warned us that if we didn't meet Max ourselves, he'd send his men to drag us in. So we went straight to Max's mansion, where he coldly asked if we even knew who we had messed with and reminded us how expensive the plane was. But Garrett told him that working with us would earn him far more, promising access to the rarest and most expensive cars in the world, and I backed him up with total confidence, which impressed Max enough to ignore the damage and agree to work with us. And at that moment, 𝗟𝗲𝗀𝗲 jumped in, claiming he was obsessed with rare cars and asking to see Max's collection, which surprised Max since he knew Laurent was Morié's cousin. But Laurent lied smoothly, saying he hated Morié for treating him like a servant and didn't even want him alive. And somehow Max believed him and took us to his private garage, where we stood speechless in front of legendary cars, including the Ferrari 1962, the exact car Morié wanted. But instead of the cars, my focus stayed on Max, and through the glass I secretly watched him enter the garage security code, memorized it, and later quietly wrote it down for Stephanie, though tensions exploded between me and Laurent because I didn't trust him and feared he'd leak everything to Morié. And when we returned to the apartment, 2 Interpol officers were waiting, telling us they were investigating rare car thefts across Europe, and that only 2 brothers kept appearing in every case, us, warning that next time they'd come with proof. And suddenly it wasn't just Max and Morié hunting us, but Interpol too. And while I struggled because it was the first time I had to depend on such a large team, Garrett told me to trust them and promised we'd survive. But at the same time, while Stephanie was shopping at a local market, Jack quietly grabbed her and tried to kidnap her, telling her not to scream. But she stayed smart, intentionally stole an apple to create chaos, ran when the shopkeeper reacted, only to be caught by another man moments later. And meanwhile, Garrett and I were ambushed by Morié's men who opened fire on us, and when we barely made it home alive, 𝗟𝗶𝗲𝗀 told us the nightmare. Morié had kidnapped Stephanie, and the second I heard that, something inside me snapped, and without fear or hesitation, I stormed straight into 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲's house and beat Jack brutally, ready to burn everything down to get her back. 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 suddenly pulled out his gun and looked straight at me and said that if I wanted to see my friend alive again, I had to come with him without asking a single question. And then he dragged me into his garage where I saw the 𝗟𝗏 tied under a running car, with a heavy wheel spinning right above her head, ready to fall at any second. And 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 coldly told me that if I wanted to save her, I would have to bring him up Max's Ferrari as fast as possible, explain my entire plan, and introduce my whole team to him. So I stayed calm and told him I'd meet him the next morning with my team and explain everything. After which 𝗟𝗏 was pulled out and locked in a room, and the next day I introduced 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 to my full crew and laid out a fake plan, first stealing a bulldozer, then police cars and uniforms, then having 𝗍𝗶𝗍𝗀𝗲 call Max to warn him about a police raid so he'd run, making it easy to steal the Ferrari later. But before I could even finish, Max's men suddenly surrounded the place, and Max himself arrived by helicopter, walked up to 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 and told him he already knew everything and was always 10 steps ahead, then left, which enraged 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 so badly that he ordered us to steal the Ferrari the very next day and told 𝗬𝗏𝗲𝗀𝗲 to keep a close eye on us. And that night, while 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 and I were talking, 2 Interpol officers showed up, clearly suspicious that something big was going on, warning us they were watching our every move. So to throw them off, I started a fake fight with 𝗬𝗏𝗲, punching him hard until the officers broke it up. But later, angry and humiliated, 𝗬𝗏𝗲 took it out on 𝗟𝗏, though she stayed smart and secretly stole the key to her room. And the next day, while 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 went to the meeting spot, fake Interpol officers showed up and distracted him with questions, because the truth was we were never stealing Max's car at all. We were stealing 𝗬𝗬𝗍𝗲's rare cars, working with Max the whole time. So our entire team rode together toward 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲's house, while 𝗟𝗏 quietly escaped her room, hacked the security system, and triggered the emergency alarm, sending all the guards inside as she slipped out and opened the main gate for us. And within seconds, 𝗟𝗏𝗲𝗲 planted explosives on the garage door, blowing it open so we could steal every rare car before the guards returned. And when 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲's men tried to chase us, they found their own cars rigged with bombs that exploded the moment 𝗟𝗏𝗲 hit the button, allowing us to escape cleanly. While back at the meeting, 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 realized the officers weren't real Interpol, ordered 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲𝗀 to open fire, shot one of them, and fled, instantly understanding I had played him and stolen his cars. So he chased us onto the highway, and in the middle of that chaos I suddenly stopped, looked at 𝗟𝗏, and asked her to marry me. And she smiled and said yes without hesitation, but 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 was right behind us. So I split the team and changed routes to confuse him, though he and 𝗬𝗏𝗲 stayed on my tail, leading to a long, brutal chase where 𝗬𝗏𝗲 got so close he was about to shoot me, until his car smashed into an oncoming truck and exploded, killing him on the spot. And as we raced toward the bridge, I signaled land to get ready, but the explosion went off a little early while I was still on it, the road collapsing beneath me. Yet I kept full focus, hit maximum speed, and barely crossed in time as the bridge completely fell apart, forcing 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 to take another route. And when we finally reached the city and headed for the port, 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 suddenly blocked us. And as Garrett and I stepped out, I told him the game was over, but he ignored me and charged straight at us, only for a bus to slam into his car at full force, sending it exploding into the water and killing him instantly. And that bus was driven by a 𝗍𝗶𝗍𝗲, who right there confessed her love to Garrett. And with that, we loaded all the cars onto a cargo ship and completed the mission, revealing the final twists. That the 2 Interpol officers had been working with me from the start, that Max was part of our plan all along, and that the Bugatti was never the real target, but just bait to trap 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲 and steal his collection. And while Max thought it was over and was impressed by us, he didn't know what was coming next, because days later, 𝗍𝗶𝗍𝗲 showed up driving Max's $50 million Ferrari, proving that I had secretly given her the garage code, letting her steal all of Max's Ferraris too, which were worth far more than 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗲𝗲's cars, meaning in the end, we played both of them. And that's how the story ends.